is a crazy time to be in the UK. Keir Starmer, as you rightly said, the most unpopular Prime Minister of all time.
Keir Starmer caught off guard as Katie Hopkins reveals this. You're not going to believe what just happened. For weeks, whispers have been circling around Westminster. Talk shows dodged it, political aides refused to comment, and then suddenly, Katie Hopkins decided she'd had enough. She went public. Bold, blunt, and unapologetic the way she always does. And Keir Starmer? Completely caught off guard. While everyone was focused on Labour's latest internal battles, Hopkins dropped a revelation that no one saw coming. And it's one of those moments that doesn't just make headlines, it makes people question everything they thought they knew about the man leading Britain's opposition party. Katie Hopkins appeared on a live online broadcast earlier this week, one of those long-form, no-filter interviews that tend to go viral fast. The host asked her a simple question about British politics, about why she believes people are losing faith in their leaders. Her response turned the entire conversation upside down. She began by drawing attention to what she described as the double life of modern politics. She didn't name Starmer at first, she didn't need to. Her tone said enough. And then, almost casually, she said, people keep asking why Keir Starmer seems so disconnected from the public. Maybe it's because he's hiding something deeper than we think. The studio went quiet. The comments section went wild. Within minutes, clips were circulating on X, Facebook, and TikTok. Viewers were split, some furious, others nodding along in eerie agreement. Now let's be clear, Hopkins didn't make any direct accusations. What she revealed was her own interpretation, built on what she claims are overlooked patterns in Starmer's career, especially from his days as Director of Public Prosecutions. She pointed out moments where decisions seemed, in her words, politically convenient, and questioned whether Starmer's public persona really matches the quiet deals and compromises behind closed doors. It wasn't about criminal claims, it was about character, about trust, about whether Britain's opposition leader is as transparent as he wants people to believe. And that's what made this moment so explosive. Because it didn't sound like a rant, it sounded like a challenge. Public reaction was immediate and fierce. One viewer posted, "Say what you want about Hopkins, but she asks the questions journalists are too scared to ask." Another fired back, "This is just another attempt to distract people from the real issues: cost of living, migration, NHS chaos." But underneath the noise, something real was happening. People weren't just debating what she said, they were debating who they believed. And that, politically, is dangerous territory for Starmer. Because in a time when trust in politicians is at an all-time low, perception can matter more than fact. Keir Starmer has spent years trying to project one image: calm, serious, respectable leadership. But Hopkins' remarks struck directly at that image. She framed him not as a man of integrity, but as a strategist, someone who plays safe, says little, and hides behind political polish. And even though many dismiss Hopkins as a provocateur, her timing couldn't have been more precise. It came right as Labour faces questions over internal divisions, especially between the grassroots members and the top leadership. It's the kind of moment that forces people to stop and think, wait, what is really going on behind those press conferences? Insiders within the party have reportedly been on alert since the clip went viral. One anonymous Labour aide told a journalist, "It's frustrating, but this is exactly how narratives start. One viral video, and suddenly we're fighting ghosts instead of policies." But a senior political commentator added another angle. Hopkins knows exactly what she's doing. She's not trying to destroy Starmer, she's trying to expose the disconnect between political leaders and the public mood. And in that sense, it worked. Because whether you love or loathe her, Hopkins has a knack for tapping into something raw, that feeling that politicians don't always say what they mean. By the next morning, the phrase, "so it's true," was trending on social media. Memes, parodies, reaction videos. Some people took it literally, asking, "True about what?" Others used it ironically, mocking how quickly British politics jumps on speculation. But the phrase stuck because it captured something powerful. That hesitation, that doubt, that small voice in the back of people's minds that says, maybe we've been missing something. And that's what makes this story more than just another social media storm. It's a snapshot of the modern political battlefield where image, perception, and timing can undo years of calculated messaging in a single viral clip. Now, whether Hopkins' revelation was fair or exaggerated isn't really the point anymore. The point is that it landed, and it landed hard. Starmer's team reportedly stayed silent, sticking to their usual calm and composed communication strategy. No public response, no statement. But silence, in politics, can be loud. It makes people wonder. It lets the story breathe. And in the digital age, a story that breathes, spreads. And here's the bigger picture, the real impact. This isn't just about Keir Starmer or Katie Hopkins. It's about the fragile trust between the people and the political class. Because when someone like Hopkins, who's been sidelined by mainstream media, suddenly dominates the conversation, it shows just how hungry the public is for unfiltered voices. Even if they're controversial. Even if they're polarizing. People want authenticity, not scripts. They want questions, not rehearsed answers. And when leaders appear too careful, too polished, too managed, someone, somewhere, will always step up and shake the table. So what happens next? Maybe this story fades as quickly as it appeared. Maybe it grows into something bigger. But one thing's for sure, that 5-minute clip has already shifted the conversation. It reminded Britain that in politics, the truth isn't always about facts, it's about belief. And as the dust settles, one question still hangs in the air. If this is what's being said now, what else might be revealed next?